Well, we've got another event for Pokémon Masters that brings in all of our Johto favorites, introducing the Neo Champion variants of Ethan and Lyra and bringing in the other of the legendary beast. Raikou, Entei, and Suicune are finally reunited, so obviously as a pretty big Johto fan I'm pretty happy for this, especially because in the past we have already had a Johto Neo Champion, that being Silver, and as you can see in the promotional artwork for this event, Kris has already been partnered up with Suicune for her Signa suit, so I think that was actually a pretty neat idea and it worked out very well to feature Ethan and Lyra. Because while Kris is a protagonist character, I don't necessarily think that becoming a Neo Champion was something on her mind, because in this game, which is establishing a personality for her, we learn that she's a lot more interested in Pokemon research, going along with her recent appearance in the Academy storyline. So the point is that everything comes together to focus on Ethan and Lyra for this event, and it begins as we learn that Lance has been chosen as a head judge for the next Neo Champion Stadium. Just as he's deciding on the criteria, he sees two Suicune pass by him, these ones being partnered up with Yusin and Kris, who are following not too far behind. Yeah, in this game Yusin actually does get to hang out with Suicune, he even gets a shiny one. Anyway, they're just playing tag to have some fun, as a fun little callback to the fact that all the legendary beasts in Johto are roaming Pokemon that you had to chase down. So seeing all of this, Lance decides that he wants the limitless energy to be the criteria, which we see the Johto crew talking about a few days later. And like I said, I just love how in this game we get to see the three of them all hanging out together, because it was a bit of an interesting way to try and solve a problem of having three protagonists in a Pokemon region. Anyway, when Ethan brings up wanting to research which Pokemon he should use, that leads Kris to let them know that Yusin is going to be giving a lecture at the Academy, which they all decide to show up for. And it is really neat that we're getting to see an acknowledgement again about the history of the Brass Tower and the legendary beast, because obviously that is what Yusin is going to talk about. And afterwards, the Johto crew are talking with Juliana about the lecture they just heard, where Juliana mentions that she would love to meet the Pokemon that were mentioned in the story. Very funny actually, because Juliana is from the game that has the Paradox versions of the legendary beast, so in a way she would kind of meet them, but not really, though I would assume that she has at some point read the Scarlet Book and has seen the infamous picture there. But anyway, back to the present moment, Kris and Ethan just decide to show her the legendary beast that they have. As I mentioned, Kris has already been partnered with Suicune for a while, but Ethan revealing that he has a Raikou here is a completely new surprise. He mentions that this is the Raikou he caught back in Johto. So while Juliana is really fascinated to meet these Pokemon, and Ethan is inspired to partner up with Raikou after the lecture, that leaves Lyra unaccounted for at the moment. She laments that it would be really cool if she had partnered up with an Entei, though she does hope that she'll be able to show her limitless energy in some way after helping her grandparents out of the Pokemon daycare. Just then, Silver shows up and gives some encouraging words, I guess you could call them. Silver's really fun as well in this game, especially after all his character development, because yeah, he still is a rival and still is rough around the edges, but it is really satisfying with his character specifically, who we originally met in the video games as a literal criminal. Just then, they hear from Morty that an Entei might have made its way to Pasio, and that is when Lyra decides to speak up and ask everybody else if they could help her chase down Entei. And obviously they all agree, even convincing Silver to be their eye in the sky. By the way, yeah, Silver is also partnered up with a Ho-Oh here on Pasio. I'm sort of saying this because I know probably a good amount of people are going to be jumping into this video not having played any of the Pokemon Masters events. Regardless, it actually works, and they do chase down Entei. And everything that unfolds here is their attempt to capture Entei, and while I really do love Pokemon Masters for the characters and the story, moments like this where we see something that should be a little faster paced and a little more action heavy, represented in the funny little mobile game style, it kinda makes me wish that we saw this in some other form, maybe with full on cutscenes, or maybe just me imagining if this game had released on the Switch rather than mobile devices, but that is a whole other discussion because at least it being mobile it is a lot more accessible. Anyway, during this encounter, Ethan is really able to get an idea of how Raikou battles. Then when it comes time for Lyra to shine, she sends out her Phanpy, which is a Pokemon we saw in the special costume event, which makes sense because otherwise what is she going to use against Entei, Meganium or Celebi? Regardless, after this battle, Entei decides to become her partner. So then it all comes down to a battle at the Neo Champion Stadium against Lance, who has also brought along Silver. And this is basically the climax of the event after Ethan has gotten to know Raikou a little better, and Lyra has also partnered up with Entei, allowing them both to use this battle to show off their limitless energy. So the event does wrap up with them officially getting their new outfits, and they are officially Neo Champions. So overall, a really fun one. I love how it utilized the Johto characters and brought them all together, finally adding in Raikou and Entei where they're supposed to be alongside these characters. And overall, I think it just does fit really well for there being three protagonists in Johto. Also, I know they technically wear different outfits when they're partnered up with these Pokemon, but generally I think it is really neat how they have some matching color schemes in some way, with the yellow on Ethan's hat matching Raikou's body, the red on Lyra's shirt matching Entei's face, and then when it comes to Kris, I guess it is just her hair that matches Suicune, though actually the real connection is that she first appeared in Crystal version, which had Suicune on the cover. But anyway, this event, which is like 27 years in the making, was really satisfying to see actually happen. Their individual sync pair stories are also really neat, as Lyra meets up with Evelyn, one of the battle Shadowleans of the Pokémon Mason, who in this game is partnered up with an Entei, which is an acknowledgement of the fact that in the video game she uses a legendary beast if you reach one of the final battles against her or something like that. I don't know, man, it's been a while since I played through the Battle Mason. Let me know if I should make a video about it at some point. Meanwhile, Ethan meets up with Ino, who is partnered up with a Raging Bolt from a previous event, and she actually reached out to Ethan to have them appear in a video together because she wanted to explore the connection between Raging Bolt and Raikou, mentioning that there's a rumor that Raging Bolt might be the ancestor of Raikou, even though we know the origins of the legendary beast, you know, Paradox Pokemon and their little weirdness going on. Though it is really neat that we're seeing some acknowledgement of the Dinosaur Paradox legendary beast Pokemon, whatever we want to call this trio, giving Generation 9 this connection to Generation 2. But now that is just about all for this event, so let me know what you think in the comments below. What connections or characters were you really happy to see in this event, and are you gonna try and roll for either of the two Neo Champions? Me personally, yes, I would definitely like to, though I don't know if I'll have enough gems, so wish me some luck. Though if you enjoyed watching this video and want to see me continue to talk about Pokemon Masters, remember to also leave a like, subscribe, and hype out the video as well. But for the moment, I better get back to chasing Entei because oh my gosh, there he goes! Thanking every channel member for your continued support, including the great Gators, Benjamin, Oy Kareem, Justin Dowes, Jackson Stefaniak, Reclaimer, Cosmo Zero, Alex with Shiny Hunts, Starshooter, KoiKoi13, Cheez-It62, GatorKid509, TF, Mathaclog947, Taijirai, and Quago. If you would like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes, 4 comments, live streams, sometimes early videos, and our members' Discord server, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorX, and I will catch you all later.
Here it is, guys.
Think you can unlock the mystery of the unknown?
What do you think those strange markings mean? Just help me push.
You can enter the world of Pokemon Crystal, the latest adventure from Johto with an all-new Pokédex. Pokemon Crystal, gotta catch 'em all.